You guys want to get some coffee or something?
Can I get a cup of coffee? Black? Can't you see we talking? White?
Even little kids in Mexico drink coffee.
Well, I'm not a little kid in Mexico, okay?
That is the best coffee I've ever tasted.
A damn fine cup of coffee.
You want a cup of coffee?
No coffee.
Coffee drinker, huh?
Maybe we could grab some coffee?
Coffee! Coffee, 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 coffee!
God damn, Jimmy. This some serious gourmet shit. Me and Vincent would have been satisfied with some freeze-dried Taster's Choice, right? And he springs this serious gourmet shit on us.
Good morning. Welcome to Morning Coffee, and I am your host this morning, John. We going to be talking about Roger Corman and Lloyd Kauffman today, and maybe some other people. Good morning. Say good morning to the chat. We got Lord Thoth, Colonizer Jeebus, Gap After Dark, D. Bud Martin, Penny, of course, who's Dork Knight's mom. And I think Kingsport Cal just arrived. Yep, Kingsport Cal just arrived. So welcome. Joining me this morning is Chris. And, of course, Martine. How are you this morning, Chris?
I'm doing good. Broadcasting from my lunar base in New Tromaville.
New Tromaville, huh?
New Tromaville on the moon, yes. We've colonized.
Well, that's good. So, when we're talking about Roger Corman and Lloyd Kauffman, what do you think of?
Well, Roger Corman is a huge influence on me as a filmmaker, not just as a filmmaker in the sense of what goes on the screen, but what goes into creating a film on a budget, the marketing, the deal making, using what you have on hand to create stuff, the idea of seeing what's popular in the market and seeing if you can create something to cater to that, which is something I think that modern Hollywood has lost sight of, and Roger Corman made his fortune doing. I've watched pretty much every documentary ever made about Roger Corman. I've read his book, which is titled How I Made, I think, now I'm forgetting it. I think it's something to the effect of How I Made 100 Films and Never Lost a Dime, I think is what it's called, which isn't entirely true. He has lost money on a few films, but for the most part, when he made a film, it was with a plan to make a profit. A lot of times up front, he knew distribution companies and marketers, and he would go with them and go, what do you want? And they would tell him what they could really use and sell at the moment. And he would go and make the poster and then make the movie according to what they could sell. As a result, we've gotten some really fun films along the way. A lot of them are low budget. I know his work from the very beginning, where he's got like my brain always drops names, but I think it's The Creature That Conquered the World, the Crab Monster, and there was one that he changed the name of. I think it's, my brain's dropping all the names at the moment, something like Terror from the Deep or something like that, which is, I think that was his first film where he got all his underwater shots because he happened to know somebody that had a connection at an aquarium. So they literally had people diving into the aquarium while the camera crew just stood nice and dry behind the glass. So brilliant stuff like that. And then in the 60s, he went to his what people call his Poe films, Follow the House of Usher, The Black Cat, Mask of the Red Death, often getting people like Vincent Price,
The Raven,
and Boris Karloff involved, who are, A-list actors who were kind of the crew's careers were kind of revitalized through them. They did very well. And then into the 70s, he started to get into like more of the hippie culture, where he did The Trip, which and he started working, of course, during the Poe films. Someone he went to acting school with, I believe, or film school with, was Jack Nicholson. That's something that we should talk about as well, is that he spawned so many careers of A-list actors, from Francis Ford Coppola to Jack Nicholson to James Cameron.
We'll be discussing the Roger Corman Film School.
Yeah. And so in, he goes into the 70s, where he's doing, acid trip films, biker films, Hell's Angels films. That's kind of where I'm a little less familiar with his work. He's doing stuff with Pam Grier. He's doing like kind of like female gladiator films and that sort of thing, which I think I checked out at one point, but never really stuck with me. And then my favorite era of his is the 80s, where he started to see movies like Conan the Barbarian and Star Wars and Alien and going, I can make money knocking these films off. So we got The Warrior and the Sorceress, which is kind of one of my favorite sword and sorceries by him, that has David Carradine in it and is like a knockoff of Yojimbo by Kurosawa, and Fistful of Dollars with Clint Eastwood. And then in the 90s and 2000s, he kind of went into the sci-fi originals, and we got things like Sharktopus, which, again, don't interest me. And that's more when he's kind of checking out creatively. He's just, what sells. I get some actors, I get a director, I throw it together, package it. Here you go, Sci-Fi Channel, pay me. So, I mean, I think I just gave like the brief overview of the history of Roger Corman. Lloyd Kauffman, who we're going to talk about as well, has a similar motif, and he also spawned some well-known directors, most notably Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad director James Gunn.
Yep.
Who actually, if you look in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie, there's an appearance by Lloyd Kauffman. Yep. And Roger Corman, of course, makes appearances in movies by people that he helped spawn their careers as well. Most notably, he plays the head of the FBI in Silence of the Lambs, which is a cameo that goes by really quick and you don't notice. It took me years to spot him. He's
in Godfather too, as well.
Yeah. And this is one of those things where, again, this is what I call, looking at Hollywood four-dimensionally. You can see the star director, the star actor, but if you follow the careers back, almost all roads lead back to somebody, if not directly, and a lot of times it is directly, someone like Roger Corman or Lloyd Kauffman. And this is something that I try and tell a lot of these, aspiring filmmakers, don't just try and bust into Hollywood going like, I'm here, I went to film school, that sort of thing. The people that you admire did a lot of schlocky stuff working for these guys. And you may look at that early stuff, or you may look at the work of someone like Roger Corman or Lloyd Kauffman and go like, like this is a terrible movie. Why does anybody like this? Well, there's reasons to like it to start, if you kind of shift your appreciation for things outside of what Hollywood does. But also, again, this is where you learn the ropes. And it's trial by fire. These people were making no money. They were working 6-7 days a week, long hours, just, doing over and over again but that experience counted for something. I mean, Gail Ann Hurd, who worked for Roger Corman, when she first produced Aliens, they're like, who are you to produce a movie? And she's just like, you know what? I'm not even going to bother trying to explain to you. Here's Roger Corman's number. Call him and talk to him. They called him. They talked to him. He told them what she was like. She got the job. Roger Corman's name pulls a lot of weight in Hollywood, even if you think his movies aren't nearly to their standard. So, is that it? What was the question again?
Well, it was just what does Roger Corman and Lloyd Kauffman, what do you think of when, what comes to mind with them? So you pretty much answered that very in great detail.
And yes, King's Protocol, you got to start somewhere. And boy, if you get to start with Roger Corman, I think even now that he's in his 90s, and I have a story about that, but we'll get to that later. Get that opportunity.
We have some more people that have come in. Anima Confucius here, Scott Lewis, and that 70s rock fan. Yep, looks like we've got some a sighting of some iron pumping for Anima Confusa.
It's the Iron Age, after all.
Yeah.
So yeah, where do you or did we get all the names?
Yeah, that's all that we've I don't think anybody's come in since then, since 70s. Zax is here.
Hey, Zax.
Otherwise known as Kyle.
Are we supposed to say that like Kirk?
No, it's supposed to be like South Park. Kyle.
Oh, okay. I haven't watched South Park in a long time. I'm slipping from being a Gen Xer into just boomerdom somehow.
We do have a $1.49 super sticker from Darius Munchausen. I can't see what it is. I'm going to guess it's the pear with coffee.
It's popcorn.
Oh, it's popcorn. Well, that's appropriate too. But so Roger Corman is pretty much the king of the B movie.
Do you want some? Thank you, beautiful.
Oh yes.
Okay, let's see. Oh,
I'll let you pick.
I like you. You have balls. I like balls.
Nothing wrong with a little Team America World Police.
I interviewed someone who worked on that, but that's a story for another time. A good question for another time.
So, but yeah, as I said, Roger Corman is literally the king of B movies. He has produced over 500 films, which is a ridiculous number. He hasn't directed as much. His directorship is only was it 56, and he directed the last movie in 1990, which was Frankenstein Unbound.
Oh, was it that? Was 1990? I thought it was in the 80s, but
no, 1990 was Frankenstein Unbound. But which is considering, it seems like it should be an 80s movie, and
it's got that feel to it, It's actually, I know we're jumping ahead here, but it's actually a really good quality film. It's been a long time since I've seen it, and I'm having trouble recalling the details of the movie. I remember the design of Frankenstein, kind of me going, that's weird. He's got these handlebar things on his head, and there was circus freaks and time travel and a laser show, and the movie ending with him saying, "I am Frankenstein, unbound." So but it was good quality, as a swan song movie. As a director, I think he could have done a lot worse. And some of the movies he's produced have been, and he's done it all too, and with his wife as well. His wife has produced a lot with him. She actually did a lot of family films for the VHS market, where they again cleaned up. But if you see some of those movies, and I have, you have to be like the stupid kid on the block to be like, this movie's awesome.
Yeah.
But, and he's gotten, what is he? David Warwick, I think, was in a Leprechaun movie that they produced for kids in Ireland. And
I think so.
They made that movie just because there were tax credits to be had in Ireland. So they were like, "Hey, we need a movie to shoot in Ireland. We'll make money." And so they just came up with it.
Wait, the Leprechaun was from Corman? From Corman?
No. It's a kids movie.
It's a kids movie, not Leprechaun the horror movie. I forget what it's called. It's
it's something with Warwick Davis, but
Warwick Davis. I said David Warwick. Didn't I?
Yeah.
It's my dyslexia.
we do have some more people that have joined us. We got the Peter Brinkman fan site, Darius Munchausen, and Dragon Roos.
Dragon Roos. I just love the name Peter Venkman fan site because who are you going to call?
Yeah, the Ghostbusters, not just Peter Venkman. Might be in trouble if you just call Pete.
Willow, yes, that's Warwick Davis. Yeah, he did some big movies, and he did. I mean, like any actor,
Well,
constantly looking for work.
he's the leprechaun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he, it's kind of one of those things. It's the '80s too. It's like, hey, kids like dwarves.
So yeah, let's get into it. Martine, if you want to share my screen.
Of course. There you go.
Yeah, this is the there's the man himself.
On the left.
Yeah, not him. Yeah.
Death,
One on the
yes,
right,
Death Race.
Death Race 2050 that's the trailer for that movie.
It looks awful.
It is.
It's one of those things too. It's interesting because when Roger Corman was forced to work on film, there was a level of quality even to his cheapest movies, and then as digital technology allowed for cheap green screen and that sort of thing, it's almost like the quality diminished with the improvement in quality of the digital technology. It's kind of weird, but yeah, where do we want to start? Do we want to start from the beginning? I definitely want to get into Galaxy of Terror at some point.
Oh, we will. I've got it pulled up as one of the movies to discuss. But yeah, I wanted to scroll down so you could see just his prolific producership.
You got to scroll faster if we're going to make it to the bottom before the show's over.
Yeah, there's a ton.
I mean, look, I can see where your tab is. There's still a ways to go. Yeah, and this means that you'll go scroll through and you're like, oh wait, he produced that. It's not always obvious.
Oh yeah, like he produced the Emmanuel movies.
What?
Yep.
Oh man.
I don't even know what the Emmanuel movies are.
They're French. He produced the American sequels, but it's basically a French softcore movie.
Oh, okay. Hey, he would do that too. He would go acquire movies in foreign languages and re-edit them and dub them. There was a really high quality, well-produced Russian movie. It was produced by the Soviet Union, had a lot of anti-American propaganda in it. So he just recut it so it didn't have the communist propaganda in it, and then dubbed it and released it under a different name in America.
Well, he did that with Japanese movies too, and we'll get into that. I've pulled some of those up as well. But
Dubes.
Yep. But yeah, he's like I said, he's only directed 56.
Only 56 movies.
Yeah, only 56 movies. Well, in a 50-year career.
Yeah. Still.
Yeah.
But
there have been, and see, he's done westerns, he's done sci-fi, he's done horror, he's done
Viking,
sword and sandal movies, Vikings,
Hell's Angels.
Yeah, biker
kids
movies,
films.
Yeah, he's literally done everything.
He even did a movie about racism in the South starring William Shatner. William Shatner got his start with him too.
Yeah, that's one of his early roles.
Yeah, I'm blocking on the name of the movie. I have brain block whenever I go live. Everything, all the information I know just flies out of my head as soon as the broadcast starts.
But there's a lot of works that, when you think about it, have been very important over the years, even if they are B movies.
Yeah.
Because the whole thing about a B movie doesn't mean it's necessarily bad. That just means it was produced with a lesser budget because it wasn't an A feature that had the larger budget, bigger cast, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Some of them were pretty bad, though.
Yeah, some of them were very bad. But coming from that's the A movie and B movie, that all comes from the studio, the old studio system. Whereas, they would produce an A movie, but B movies, they would produce maybe 4 or 5 for what they produce an A movie for.
Well, it was a packaging thing. They would say, like they would tell the movie theaters, if you had, if you want this movie that's going to be a big hit, then you also have to play these other movies.
Yes.
It was like a package deal that they would do to sell stuff. And that kind of went away as we got bigger theaters and, the multiplex and that sort of thing. But even before then, it started to go away when the studios started to realize that the B picture was making money too. Because before, the B picture would be, buy a different studio. Yeah. And then when they realized that they were leaving money on the table, the big studios realized they were leaving money on the table. They kind of started to monopolize that, which there were a whole court. There was a whole court ruling on that the studios couldn't own the theaters. Anyway, that's a whole other thing. I'm trying to remember the name of that movie because it was. Like I said, I never saw it. Roger Corman was very proud of it.
Yeah.
But he said it was one of the movies that lost him money. Like it only started to become profitable like last year or something like that.
Well, I was going to save this till later, but now's a good time to bring it up. There's a thing called the Roger Corman Film School. It's not really a film school. It's just Roger Corman is given so many people their first breaks, either early roles or their very first role, gave them their first job in Hollywood. And these are people that that are, Academy Award winners today.
Mm-hmm.
And, they all came from the Roger Corman Film School. And I know this is Wikipedia, but they have a good breakdown on some of the names that, that
he got,
he started, and it was like, it's just ridiculous. And of course, those directors and actors have paid him back over the years by giving him, shout outs and cameos in various movies.
Yeah, the trip wasn't the movie that I'm thinking of, but The Trip was a precursor to Easy Rider.
Yes.
With Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson was in The Trip, I believe.
Yeah, but he got his start in another movie of his.
It was, I believe it was, what was it? Was it The Raven? It might have been The Raven.
Nope, it was Little Shop of Horrors.
Oh, was it Little Shop of Horrors?
Yeah.
1960.
It was
Little Shop of Horrors, where they had the sets for 2 days, and they shot it in 2 days. There was some rehearsal time. It wasn't like they all just showed up and shot a movie in 2 days. They were prepared, but they were able to shoot it in 2 days, and they picked up some footage from Skid Row. I think they paid some bums to be in it.
Yeah, but some of the actors that got their start underneath a Roger Corman production, Jack Nicholson, Peter Fonda, Bruce Dern, Charles Bronson, Dennis Hopper, Tommy Lee Jones, Sandra Bullock, Robert De Niro, David Carradine. These are all people that have, that had gotten their, and Sylvester Stallone. He got one of his early starring roles.
Really? I didn't know that.
In Death Race 2000.
Was he in Death Race 2000? Yep. I didn't realize.
Yeah, he was Machine Gun Kelly.
Yep. And of course, David Carradine was Frankenstein.
Remembering it. Yeah. Now it's coming back to me. That's weird that I brain dumped that. Bill Paxton as well. He got his start there.
Yeah, let's see. But yeah, Francis Ford Coppola.
That's a big one.
Yeah, he directed the scenes. He got his first director's job in 1962, directing the American scenes for the Battle Beyond the Sun, which is the Russian. I think it's the Russian, or is that the Japanese one? I need to actually look.
I can't.
It's the Russian one, yeah.
It's the Russian one, yeah.
But yeah. So let's see who else. James Horner got his first composing gig in The Lady in Red.
It's funny. James Horner also composed the Battle Beyond the Stars theme, which Roger Corman hilariously recycled for like 5 or 6 other movies. He just threw James Horner a little more money to not do any work and just let him use it again. So what is it? Sorceresses, I think The Warrior and the Sorceress, as well as I know what's another one. There's a couple of sci-fi ones that he put it in as well. One was Forbidden World was another one. It's a really weird alien knockoff after Galaxy of Terror. So, and that's another great thing about Roger Corman. He reused stuff. He reused sets. He reused scores.
He used footage in other movies.
Scenes from other movies.
And we have House of Dragons.
Oh, Dragon Bricks. And I saw Alex Moore was here too.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I didn't catch Alex.
You posted his thing on the screen. I just hadn't had time to say anything about it yet. His comment.
Oh yeah. Oh my God.
You're slipping. You're slipping, Martine.
Oh yeah.
But some other Martin Scorsese. His first film was a film called Boxcar Bertha.
That's right. Yeah. That's for Martin Scorsese, and I will say this as well for Francis Ford Coppola. He was editing for Roger Corman, and as often happens, the opportunity to direct was there. There was a need for a director, and he just kind of went, "Can I do it?" And Roger Corman was like, "Okay, you've done good work for me so far. Fine." Same thing happened with Jack Nicholson.
Yep.
There was a movie, one of the movies that they shot, and I forget the name of it. It's a complete cluster. It makes no sense at all because different directors kept popping in and they didn't have a finished script. So they literally let different directors have a shot at it, including Jack Nicholson, who was also starring in it. And then they just cut it together the best they could and put it out there. And they've got literally they edited together and then they went back and shot a scene with somebody explaining what's going on because they didn't know what was going on while they were making it. And that's kind of that's how some of these films went down. It's like, okay, it doesn't matter. We know this is crap, but let's get it out there and make our money.
Yep.
Sometimes that resulted in great films and other times not so much.
Irvin Kershner got his start in 1958 as both a director and a writer for Stakeout on Dope Street. And Ron Howard.
Yep. Who had already been on Happy Days.
Yeah, he'd been on Happy Days, but he hadn't, this is his first job directing as a writer was for a movie called Grand Theft Auto.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't, supposedly Roger Corman told Ron Howard, if you do a good job on this movie, you'll never have to work for me again.
Well, that was so Grand Theft Auto. I think Ron Howard starred in, and I think it was a hit. And yes, they did have to pay Roger Corman royalties on the name for the video game.
Yes,
they negotiated that, as well as another movie called Fast and Furious, or the Fast and the Furious. And they just they pared it down to Fast and Furious. So Roger Corman negotiated that. And but for Ron Howard, I believe the first Grand Theft Auto was a hit, so they wanted to make a sequel. And Ron Howard wanted to direct, and he said, "Look, usually when there's a hit, the star comes back for the sequel and negotiates a higher fee. He said, I'll make you a deal. You can hire me back I'll work for the same amount of money if you let me direct it. And Roger Corman said, you always look like a director to me. But yes, he started, push. The story is that he wanted more extras for the crowd scene, because essentially what they were doing is they had 5 people in the stands. They had I think they had some stock footage of stands, but he had 5 people in the stands that he had to keep shooting close up on. And he kept saying Roger, I need more extras. I need more extras. Give me 20 extras. And Roger Corman was like, you get 5. And he's like, okay, give me 15. Roger, 5. All right, 10. Roger, 5. And then that's when he said, yeah, look, do this my way and you'll never have to work for me again. And yeah, that was his way of saying, not just saying we don't have to do business again. It was saying Roger knew, if you do this for me, you will get all the work you need. You don't have to deal with me anymore and you can do it your way. But here we do it my way.
And look who's here.
Keith, welcome.
Hello.
And there's one other person that got his start under Roger Corman, and that's a little known director called James Cameron.
Yep.
He got his start under one of my favorite movies, Battle Beyond the Stars, as the art director and visual effects artist.
Now, someone I used to work for, Alec Gillis, who was the co-owner of Studio ADI, who did the special effects for Tremors, Starship Troopers, the Aliens franchise from Alien 3 on, except for the Ridley Scott prequels. But he did the AVP movies, all that sort of thing. He worked for Roger Corman on those movies as well. Now, this is an interesting thing. When Alec was doing his work, somebody said to him, hey, you got to meet this friend of mine. He's screening a short film that he just made at a theater. Go meet him. And it was James Cameron. And they became friends. And Alec actually got the interview for Roger Corman's studio. And he thought, well, I'm not good enough to get the job, but maybe if I bring a friend, I can get us both hired on some of his merits as well. So he brought James Cameron to Roger Corman, and then James Cameron ended up taking over the world from there. So, and when I was in, the last time I visited Studio ADI, the Nell ship from Battle Beyond the Stars, along with the Walker from Xenogenesis, which was which was James Cameron's short film, and some other props that James Cameron owns were at Studio ADI. He had hired Alec to refurbish them for, I guess, an exhibit they were going to do or something like that. So I've actually had the Nell miniature right in front of me. And yes, I'm doing this ironically. But yeah, that's again, there's great stories about that, and I have some inside stories about James Cameron's time with at Roger Corman's studio, but I don't want to bury your lead, so
okay,
please continue.
Keith, I'll ask the same question. What does Roger Corman and Lloyd Kauffman, what do you think of when you mention those names?
Definitely two individuals, and I should say Roger Corman and his brother, very important. Just like with the Disney brothers and a few others, the Raimi brothers.
That's Corman, right?
Yeah. It's you got to understand, living in Missouri, that Roger Corman has a connection to the state of Missouri, and he filmed a movie in southeast Missouri called The Intruder, with a then this is 1961.
And that was the movies that I was trying to think of the name of, by the way.
Yeah, The Intruder. With a young Canadian actor who had only been on stage in a few films here and there by the name of William Allen Shatner. And they were both here in southeast Missouri making that movie. And I think one of the people in the cast of the film was the guy who would eventually write the book Millennium. That was to be, a classic science fiction novel. So, but both of those guys really have, I think, are the guides, guardians, and really innovators who have led us to what we are doing right now today. Some of the biggest names in Hollywood have gotten their start working for both those guys. And Lloyd Kauffman, I think, is getting ready to relaunch a lot of what he's got. You've got a lot of a new generation of filmmakers that are going to come in and reintroduce us to some of his biggest characters. Lots and lots of reboots, lots and lots of Inspector Kabuki, and of course,
Toxic Avenger.
Toxic Avenger will be reintroduced to a whole new generation of fans.
Like 2023 or 2024 is when Toxic comes out.
Tailored for a new audience and sensibilities.
The other thing is that James Gunn has made it a point, since he studied under Lloyd Kauffman and was his right-hand man for a little bit. He's made it a point to have Lloyd Kauffman make cameo appearances in pretty much every movie he's ever made. And that includes the Marvel films.
Yep.
Every single James Gunn film he made for Marvel, Lloyd Kaufman's there.
Yeah.
There's
he even wrote a book about his experience with Lloyd Kauffman.
Yes.
Kinsport said not a while ago that he was on Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I should also just mention the name of the movie that he directed for Lloyd Kauffman, which was Romeo and Juliet.
Juliet.
Yep.
Yes.
And again, right now, James Gunn is the big name. I mean, he currently is the next big thing, and I think we should go ahead on a future episode on one of my Friday shows to count down the top names in geek entertainment, like they used to do with the top 100 most powerful people in entertainment. Yeah. I know certain magazines used to count down the top 100 most powerful people in geek or sci-fi fantasy entertainment, and I think we should do that again. Of course, I'm not suggesting, I do a top 100 list. I'm thinking maybe a top 10.
Yeah.
But if they did that kind of list now, James Gunn would definitely be comfortable within the top 10. Yeah. I mean, just with what he was able to do with Peacemaker and everything that he looks like he and Peter Safran are going to be able to accomplish with what little time they have with DC.
Yeah, he's in the big chair there at DC now, so
it's, you know what? Being in the big chair means nothing when they only let you sit there for 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's true.
This is going to be something, and I think a lot of the uninformed are going to judge James Gunn and Peter Safran based on things they have nothing to do with. So any of the upcoming DC films that you're going to be seeing next year have nothing to do with the new direction that everything's going.
Right.
And again, it's safe to say that I think Lloyd Kauffman will somehow probably make an appearance in some of those movies, or at least the one film that I think James Gunn will probably direct in his current position, because I think that's all he really has time to do.
Well, Metal Men's been mentioned, and he actually mentioned it, and Metal Men and Batmite are the two that.
Man, I wonder who kept saying that before all of that. I'll think of his name.
Yeah. Was it Kevin Moncrief?
Yes, that's his name. Look, the thing about having someone like a James Gunn be a fan is that you know that, one, he cares, and two, he knows what he's doing, and that's all because of the kind of support and encouragement he got in the very beginning of his career from Lloyd Kauffman. And the same thing, the same thing can be said really about a lot of people in Hollywood who take the time out to help the new people understand how things work. And that's probably the most important thing you can do. And I know that there are still some people who do that, will take certain people under their wing. But it is very important to guide and encourage the new talent, because when they're not being guided, when they're not being truly encouraged, you get what we get right now from Lucasfilm and from Marvel Comics and DC Comics, as both of those currently stand. The mess that has been made, really, in my opinion, is also a direct result in having a lot of people who have not been truly guided by the people who would know the industries that they are in the best. That's a good point. You're right. They've been handed stuff where, if you're in, I know this for a fact, if you're in Lloyd Kaufman's camp, while you're working for him, you're all in. He wants people to be all in. Yes. And it's weird because you will watch, and this is kind of what got James Gunn into trouble as well on Twitter with his jokes that got him canceled for a bit. Most people don't realize that he was ensconced in the Lloyd Kaufman trauma environment at that time, and that's the humor, that's the jokes. Mm-hmm. They're bad taste jokes. Yes. And there's an audience for that. So people from the outside looking in would interpret that in all sorts of what I would just say bad faith ways. But if you watch Lloyd Kaufman work with people, it's very odd because he is very off the wall, like in his interviews and when he's in front of the camera, he's just like as off the wall as they get. But if you see him in candid moments where he's working with someone, on the script, interns or something like that, he is deadly serious. Yes, and that's great. That is, look, there is a reason why we are talking about these two gentlemen today. Okay? For those who really look down on what they've done, you are completely missing what important work they've done. Not only as far as what they've been able to create, but in the environment that they have set up with the people around them. And I also will throw into this a Kansas City native became a very big name in the early days of Hollywood, because this one man is pretty much responsible for the growth and success of animation within all of the United States, including Walt Disney Animation, and that's Ub Iwerks. When Ub left Disney, I would challenge anyone to Google all of the people who came to work for him, because everyone he ended up employing during the short period that he ran his own studio went on to create some of the biggest animation out there, okay, and would go on to lead success at Warner Brothers and all of the other animated companies that would provide animation in the 1950s, 1960s, and into the 70s. I mean, you name it, he had a student from it, So it is very important to be very encouraging, to be someone who can help guide the next generation of artists and artisans. I cannot stress enough how important that is. And I think go ahead. Not just encouraging, but giving them the discipline, which is, these, what we were talking about before, Lloyd Kaufman or Roger Corman, you're not making a lot of money here and you're working 6-7 days a week. It's a trial by fire. Yes. You either sink or swim. And if you really want to do it, then you'll do everything you can to please these people. And if you do, then it's kind of like being
like John was saying, like the Roger Corman School. If you're a graduate, that comes with a pedigree.
Yes.
And I'm watching King's Protocol, shout out these different movies like Piranha and Carnosaurs and that sort of thing. It's like there's so many movies over the years that you go like, oh yeah, that one. Oh yeah, that one. It's like, it's amazing what these people have injected into our culture. It's like we may not think about them on a daily basis, or the public may not be aware of them as they are like a Marvel movie or something like that. But Carnosaurs, or Piranha 2 wasn't directly Roger Corman, but it was James Cameron, and Roger Corman had his fingers in that, so to speak. But it's like, you remember these movies. You remember Frankenstein Unbound. You remember Piranha. You remember, what's it? This is another. I mean, there's so many too that you go. Again, you go like, oh, that was him, but you remember it. You remember it seeing it on the video store shelf, or.
Well, also you got to remember a lot of the companies that rose up. Those of us who remember the '80s, especially going to rent movies at your favorite video rental place. All of these different production companies that sprang up in the '70s and the '80s. Full Moon Entertainment being one of them.
Yeah, Charles Band.
There is a whole subculture, and this is part of what people like Quentin Tarantino will talk about. You have to be a go-getter. If you want to be a part of the business, you shouldn't just take everything that the studio system tells you as gospel. Sometimes you don't really need them. You can go out and make whatever. This is one of the things that Robert Meyer Burnett talks about. And again, someday when he writes his memoirs and starts name dropping, I think a lot more people are going to understand exactly some of the things that happened in the 80s and the 90s that have helped directly lead us to where we are today. There are a lot of people that are working in making whatever. And you can roll your eyes a little bit at something like a Sharknado and laugh under your breath.
Or Sharktopus in Roger Corman's case.
Or something like Mansquito. You can laugh at that stuff, but really what that is a culmination of really all of the hard work and dedication of everyone that worked on those particular projects. And again, they understand what they're doing. They know they're not making something that's going to win an Academy Award. And guess what? Surprise, surprise. That's not why they're doing it.
Well, it's actually, it's better than an Academy Award. Now, I'll tell you something. 2 times in my life, I've tried to get in front of Roger Corman and both times through contests. One was, and I showed the film when I made that short film, Roger. That was for the Roger Corman short film quarantine contest, where I was so convinced I was going to do a good enough job to get his attention, but some other movies did, and I don't understand why, but I do believe that there is logic behind why those people won and not me. They were understanding something that I wasn't quite getting, and it's mainly just some of it was just Roger Corman's interest or what Roger Corman thinks is marketable. The other was a catchphrase contest. The prize being an autograph poster of the movie. It was Sharktopus versus Terracooter. So it was part pterodactyl, part barracuda. And to this day, I will say it again and again. I had the perfect tagline, and it got ignored, and I think it was wrong. The tagline that was chosen was Sharktopus versus Terracuda, a love story, because he's friends with Michael Moore, who did Capitalism, a love story, and like that. Whatever. This is my tagline, and you tell me if you think it should have won.
Okay.
Sharktopus versus Terracuda. The P may be silent, but they're both deadly.
Oh, jeez.
Come on, that is
definitely fits with the show.
Yep. You got robbed, my friend.
I
You
got robbed.
But no, we may be talking about, Roger Corman and Lloyd Kauffman, but as I keep saying, there is an entire subgenre that that was born out of just going out and just shooting it because that's what you feel that deep-seated need to do.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, what's missing from that though is, again, like I said before, Roger Corman, he didn't just go out and shoot it. He went out and shot it based on, talking to distributors and stuff, saying, this is what we're looking to buy at the moment. Which is kind of missing from the market at the moment because everyone's self-distributing. Well, but back then, anyway, that's why I say that it's better than an Oscar. If I had a choice between winning an Oscar and working for Roger Corman, I'd work for Roger Corman because that's money in the bank more than an Oscar.
When you look at really the godfather of that kind of entertainment, William
Castle.
William Castle. You got to understand. I mean, there's just part of it is a mentality more than anything else. And the reason why all of these people seem to really kind of stay within the action, sci-fi, horror genre is because they're really fans like we are. I mean, they're nerds, but they're nerds that never say no. They never say can't. They find a way of making it work. And really, you look at, if you try to paint them all with the same brush, you're really doing a disservice because, both Kauffman and Corman were fans. But each of them took something different from that and had a different way of working.
Yeah. Well, with William Castle, this is a guy who sometimes he'd shoot the movie and he'd literally go driving around the country, theater to theater, with his film in a can and showing it and making money that way. And that was
The Tingler. I still think that's the ultimate Castle film experience.
Yeah.
Those of you young people out there, it's not enough to just watch the movie. You have to watch the movie in the right environment. To me, it's something that's...
Wasn't this William Castle as well?
The House on Haunted Hill. Yep, that's William Castle. That's probably his most famous movie.
Also 13 Ghosts. He was good at coming up with gimmicks like the Tingler. They were putting buzzers under the seat.
Yep.
Which, I mean, imagine being in that theater when that movie first came out, how much fun it must have been for the lights to go out and the voice going, the only way you can save yourself is to scream, and just having everyone in the movie theater scream as the buzzers went off under their seat. I mean, that had to be amazing.
You really do have to learn how to not only, create a film from scratch, but to understand how distribution works, to understand how negotiating with talent works, even with understanding really how the crew systems work. Sometimes you can, more often than not, you're doing stuff that's non-union. Understanding also your legal rights, as far as being able to, get permits to film certain places, or in the case of
permits and be ready to run.
as Roger Corman learned in Southeast Missouri, and it is all of it is part of that, stuff that you could learn. And again, there is really no rule that says that you have to go to film school. Seriously, there is no rule that says you have to do that. Realistically, the most valuable thing you get in going to any organized school that will teach you anything about film and television really are the contacts that you make. Seriously.
No,
That
you're
is the most
absolutely right.
valuable. That is the most valuable thing you get out of it. I mean, you go to any school. Some schools have great systems. You know, they have all of the support that they could ever need. You know, they got the money. They can afford all this great equipment. Some schools don't have that. But talent can come from anywhere. And again, I keep hitting on this. It really is about the environment that you provide. You know, you have to make the environment be something that is conducive to creativity, but also to understanding how things work, getting everyone to understand how yeah, it's fun, but this is also work, and to understand that we're all working towards a goal. And go ahead.
Oh no, I was just, you reminded me of something. It was from one of my favorite Pixar movies, Ratatouille, at the end where Ego is writing his review, and he says it took him a long time to realize, only till now that he realized what Linguini meant when he said anyone can cook, and he said, no, not anyone can cook, but a good cook can come from anywhere.
There you go.
And it really I 100% agree with you. Film school is great for connections. I'm a little perturbed at the moment by what I'm seeing coming out of like the film trade schools, like, Full Sail University. And I'm not trying to rag on Full Sail University. They're great for teaching the basics. But what I'm seeing come out of there is that nowadays, everybody's using the equipment as the same. Everyone's thinking about lenses in the same way. Everyone's lighting in the same way.
Yeah.
They're not trying to innovate. They're just being trained and sent out so they can get a job.
Yeah.
And it's producing a lot of things that look the same for me. I had without naming any names, I had recently an experience with someone where I was, trying to shoot something in the way that I thought it should be shot, and they seemed to disagree. And they were kind of because of the situation, I kind of had to give a little bit, or else things weren't going to get done. But just on reviewing the footage, it looks fine, but it looks like everything else. And so now I'm stuck solving a problem that of how to kind of make what I have work for what I actually needed to do. And it's kind of, it's a little bit of this, I don't want to call it arrogance, but it's just this assuredness that I'm doing it the right way. Well, and, therefore all other ways are dismissed. And
I'm sorry that happened to you, because to me, when you start work on a film, you have to learn the hierarchy of how a film set should work. And at the top of that is really the producer. That is the person for whom all things flow. The producer is the one that answers directly, or at least fulfills the wishes of the director. It doesn't matter, what kind of a view you have of a particular film. Once you have everything in place, your financing, everybody's got the job to do. Once you lock in your director, I don't give a what you think. It really is about allowing that director to fulfill their vision of how to adapt that script. Well, that is really what it's about.
I have a great story for you on that front, because with Roger Corman, Roger Corman's. Oh, go ahead, John.
I just want to say hello to War Monkey and Slicer Fred for joining us in the chat today. And Fracture Thread brings up a movie that once we start talking about the movies here in a little bit for the second hour, I'm going to be covering that. So,
oh, great. Well, I'm gonna give a story in relation to what Keith says, because there is definitely a hierarchy, and depending on the producer director hierarchy can kind of be interchangeable a bit.
Yes.
If you're working for Roger Corman and he's hired you as a director to get a job done, then he's gonna laud over you and make sure you're doing it right. He'll give you leeway as long as his requirements are being met. If you're a director who is, trying to produce something and you get a producer to help you, then yeah, absolutely, you're right. With Roger Corman, and this isn't a story this is a story that Alec Gillis told me about being on the set of Battle Beyond the Stars. And he said, it's the only time I've ever seen James Cameron completely put in his place and stymied and flustered. James Cameron, even back then, was a perfectionist. And even though he was doing a great job for Roger Corman, he had taken over for the lead special effects person. And that's where Gale Ann Hurd met him, because the special effects weren't turning out very well. And so Roger sent Gale down there to see what was going on. And James Cameron kind of jumped in front of her and took her on a tour. And then she didn't realize at first that he wasn't the guy in charge. So they fired the guy that was in charge. They put James Cameron in charge because he was obviously more qualified to do it. And he was doing a great job, but he was taking some time. Roger Corman almost never showed up to sets unless something was wrong. So what happened was things were taking a little more time than Roger was comfortable with. So he came down to the sets and he said, Alec was there. He said, we're painting the sets. He's like, literally, wet paint everywhere. Roger looks around and goes, what's the problem? And he's going, well, we're still working on getting these sets done for these next scenes. And he goes, these sets are done. Wheel them out. I mean, they're literally, on wheels. And James Cameron said to Roger Corman, says, no, I don't think they are ready yet. And Roger Corman just looked at him and said, then you'll be fired, and walked off. And James Cameron went running after him, like trying to reason with him and that sort of thing. But the word had been given. And Alex said, literally, we rolled the sets out in front of the cameras. The actors were waiting. He's like, I had to tell the actors, don't rest your elbow on this. The paint's still wet. It'll come off on your costume. But they shot the scenes and but again, that was James Cameron being a perfectionist. James Cameron then went on to use Galaxy of Terror as his kind of testing ground for the effects that he would use in Aliens, the same rear projection and if you look at Galaxy of Terror, it has a much better production value than a Roger Corman movie has the right to be, and it does look a lot like Aliens. As a matter of fact, if you didn't know the timeline of those two movies, you'd watch and go like, oh, Roger Corman ripped off Aliens. They were actually trying to do as James Cameron put it, and James Cameron said, to put it charitably, a pay-on to Alien. But again, as a role of a producer, Roger Corman, that kind of producer, and I'm kind of the same way when I work with people, is like, it's not just the creative. We've got a schedule to meet. I fired a writer because I asked him I gave him a treatment. I said, write a script around this treatment. These are the locations. You get this many actors. He comes back to me with his first draft. He's added locations. He's added actors. I sound weird?
You've got an echo.
Oh. That is strange. Let's see. Why don't I solve it by, do I have headphones available? Yes. Hold on a second. Hopefully this will solve it. Sometimes I get an echo. Does that solve the problem?
No, it's still an echo.
Now I'm hearing you echo.
Yeah. Somebody have hello?
Oh, it's Keith.
It was Keith. No? No,
Yes.
I'm still echoing.
No,
Still
it's
echoing?
Keith. I'm
Yeah.
calling you.
Yeah.
You're causing a little echo. I don't know if you can.
I had my mic muted.
Oh,
That's weird.
Hold on. Let me do it again. You guys keep talking.
Testing 1, 2, 3. How about you? Anything?
Nope.
John?
Oh, sorry, I muted myself to make sure it wasn't me.
You're not echoing now. Am I echoing still?
A little bit.
That's weird.
Well, we'll just go with it.
Well, I tell you what, I will. I lost my train of thought. I actually do have to get going anyway. I've got stuff to take care of, but I've told a couple of Roger Corman stories, and I'll let you guys go at it, and I'll delay it. Yeah, why do I echo every once in a while? I don't know, but yeah, I do have stuff I have to take care of. It's a very busy time in my life, and I've got some big responsibilities to take care of. But thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Thanks for having me on your Friday show, John. This is a lot of fun, and this is a great topic. We definitely need to continue on conversations like this because they're fun.
Just wait till next Friday, my friend.
Next Friday, are we finally going with who I think we're going with?
Actually, we will be discussing next Friday. We will be breaking down everything ahead of Peter Safran and James Gunn, and looking at DC Studios. What we know so far.
No, I'm being told I sound fine now, which is good. That sounds great. And I should also mention, I should Tuesday's show. We have a special guest. We have none other than Batman writer and creator of Bane, Chuck Dixon. Chuck will be joining us to talk about his new project with Sylvester Stallone. And Chuck has actually worked for Roger Corman, so we might be able to ask him about that too.
That is fantastic.
And then on my own channel on Wednesday, the following day before Thanksgiving, at 12 noon Central Time, so the Christopher Moonlight Productions YouTube channel, I'll also be speaking with Sarah Frazetta. So I've got some good ones lined up next week. I'm really excited.
Awesome.
All right.
Sarah's
Can't wait to see that.
I am fired for my echo. I'll see you guys later. Have a great rest of the show. Have a great weekend, everyone. Thanks so much.
All right. See you later, Chris.
Have a good one.
Later.
All right. Well, there's still an echo.
Well, okay, hold on.
No. There's no echo. It was Chris after all.
Well, no, I'm echoing.
Oh, me too.
That's weird.
Am I echoing?
No. It's just me.
No. You and me, John.
Yeah, we're echoing.
Interesting.
Okay.
Anyway, so let's start breaking down some of these movies from Roger Corman. I wanted to start with probably one of his more famous is Little Shop of Horrors, the original.
Mm-hmm.
I guess before we get started, I want to say hi to Sean Eastep. Thanks for joining us today. Oh, we're all fired according to Gap After Dark.
What?
As you can see, there's Jack Nicholson.
Curiously enough, his was a very, very small role.
Yep. There's some of the comics that they put out. Some of the movie posters. I was hoping to get to actually, I guess these are scenes from the movie technically, but yeah, there's the plant.
Still blows my mind that Steve Martin was cast in the Jack Nicholson role. So
Yep.
No.
Oh no, he wasn't. No, he wasn't.
No, yeah, because Jack Nicholson was the patient.
Yeah, Jack Nicholson was
Yeah,
the
you're
patient.
right.
I'm sorry.
It's been a long time since I've seen this movie.
It's my favorite version. You know, nothing against the nothing against the film version of the stage production, but I do enjoy Corman's version. So
Yeah, you can really tell when these posters came out because they start putting Jack Nicholson up in a starring slot, even though he's not, like featuring Jack Nicholson. You know, these are some DVD covers. But yeah, so that's one of his earliest ones. He had, back in the 50s, he had made a lot of movies in the 60s that really are important in the whole classic horror genre. You know, he did a whole series of movies based on Edgar Allan Poe stories.
Mm-hmm.
Starring Vincent Price.
Yep.
There's The Pit and the Pendulum, House of Usher, and The Raven. Oh, and Mask of the Red Death. Almost forgot about that one. Can't forget about that one. But yeah, he got to work with Vincent Price on a lot of movies. And he's arguably one of the biggest horror actors to come out of the 50s.
Yes, and one of the I'm still kind of surprised that they have not given him the honor of placing his bust in the Capitol Rotunda in Jefferson City.
Yeah, he should have it. He should have a bust there.
Mm-hmm. So if you're someone who lives in the state of Missouri, write your congressman. You know, he should definitely have a bust.
Yeah, I don't understand why I'm echoing. I have no idea.
Hey, I'm gonna get out of the studio and get back again. Maybe.
Okay.
Oh.
See if that fixes it. If not, I'll go out and back in. Well, I'm still echoing. So let me go back out and come back in.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Go ahead and vamp for a bit, Keith.
I will vamp for you. Now, the thing about, Roger Corman personally that I enjoy is the fact that over the years, his contact list, his Rolodex of talent is such that if he truly wanted to, he probably could have called in a lot of favors to everyone whose career he helped to start and be able to produce something that would blow people away. In his later years, though, he got a chance to at least return the favor by making an appearance in a film like Swing Shift, which was the first film between Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell. That was the film that towards the beginning of their romantic relationship, and having Roger Corman in that was amazing. He's not a half bad actor,
Yeah. I'm still echoing.
Still?
Yeah.
Well, how about I jump out and come back in?
All right, let's see if that fixes it. And I'll go ahead and share my screen again. Because it was Keith all along. So anyway.
The booby ship.
This brings us to one of my favorite movies of all time, Battle Beyond the Stars. And yes, the ship is a booby ship.
Yeah, Keith, I have bad news. It is you.
It
was
is me.
you. It was. Now it's not. So we're good.
Well, I apologize, everyone.
Oh, don't be.
Just a little echo among friends. So yeah, this is obviously it's one of my favorite movies. It's actually a remake of the Seven Samurai, which is ultimately the Seven Samurai, but it actually takes more from the Magnificent Seven.
It even includes one of the actors from the film.
Yep, Robert Vaughn.
Yep,
in the same role.
Pretty much.
Yep. So it is, and it's and a lot of the special effects were used in some other movies as well.
Well, it costs a lot of money, and you want to be able to get your money's worth. Reusing visual effects is something that a lot of B and C and D level filmmakers do, because it saves you a lot of money. And sometimes you can reuse effects over the course of multiple films. Yeah. Sometimes even some big studio films will do that. I'm looking right at you, Star Trek VI: The Undiscovered Country, where they admitted that they ended up using one visual effect that actually was from another movie. So,
hey, that's the guy from the 1990s It.
That's John Boy from the Waltons.
Yeah, this was his big breakout role after he left the Waltons television series. Yep. Also, this was, I think, look, I do really like everything about what Roger Corman has done. But I think it was also kind of foolish of him to say that he could have done or could do what George Lucas and his people did, cheaper, faster, and better. It's just like, no.
Yeah. Look who that is.
You have every right to, say that, you could make your own attempt to try to entertain people in that way. But, everything that ILM and Lucas and Lucasfilm had accomplished with Star Wars was something that they had worked very hard in trying to do. And it's a transformative film.
Yeah.
It would have been next to impossible to beat Star Wars when it came out. I'm sorry. It's just...
Oh yeah. Well, we seem to be getting a lot of. Yeah, we're back at the repeats again. So yeah, but like I said, it's one of my favorite movies. I noticed those featured quite a lot of Sybil there.
Mm-hmm.
Not there's anything wrong with looking at Sybil Danning. It's just one of those things.
No, of course not. Of course not.
But yeah, so the next movie I want to get to is Galaxy of Terror. And it, as was discussed before, it laid a lot of the groundwork with setting up for Aliens, as not as in the actual story, but a lot of the techniques that James Cameron used in Galaxy of Terror, he reused in Aliens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
on top of having a really cool cast too.
Oh yeah. See if I can get some of the cast photos here. There's a lovely shot. There's You may remember Aaron Morin from Happy Days.
Happy Days. Yep.
Johnny Loves Chachi.
Little Joni Cunningham.
Yep. Hello.
There she is.
Yep. She was the empath for the ship.
It also included Sid Haig.
Yeah.
And let's see, Mr. Albert. Edwin Albert, who's I think the commander, the guy with the mustache.
Yeah, that's
the son of actor Eddie Albert.
Yeah, Cabron. You can see the sorry about the cough there. There's Sid Haig. Robert Englund was in it.
Mm-hmm. Also, actress. Actress. Oh man, what is her name? I'm trying to do this off of memory. Geez, this getting old thing sucks. I think one of the actresses from the original Lost in Space was also a part of that cast.
Ray Walston was in it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And for people that grew up in the 1960s,
it's My Favorite Martian.
My Favorite Martian. But this is before he did Fast Times at Ridgemont High, I think.
Yeah. And next is the last movie that Roger Corman actually directed. It was 1990's Frankenstein Unbound, which was John Hurt, Raul Julia, Bridget Fonda, Jason Patrick. Just a lot of big names in there.
Well, they were names that were able to accept a certain amount of money.
Yeah.
Like as I was saying before, the thing about Roger Corman is that he had been around so long and launched so many careers. If he were to truly call in a favor from everybody in the business that owed him one to work on one last film,
it would be ridiculous.
It would truly be ridiculous with the amount of talent you would have behind the scenes and in front of the camera.
Oh yeah. Sadly, we've lost both of them, so
yeah.
It's in Terror Vision.
Man, I have my story with that movie is almost the same with Chris. It was after the midnight, and it came out on TV, and a Frankenstein movie, and
yeah, it's a bit of a trip.
Yeah, that's an understatement.
I liked it. It's one of my guilty pleasures.
Well, one of mine is well, we won't get into that because that takes us down a road that a lot of those films, a lot of these low budget movies of the 80s could get kind of out there. And one of my personal favorites, just because of how truly disgusting it was Xtro. XTRO.
Yeah.
There are 3 of those.
No, I know, but the first one was still,
Yeah. And before there was Vin Diesel, there was John Ireland in Fast and the Furious.
The question is,
has nothing to do with the other movie at all.
So he don't say family.
No, it's not quite sexploitation, but It's in that ballpark.
Yeah, but sexploitation, and you call the movie Fast and Furious?
Yeah.
That's not too subtle there, you know.
But so, a lot of car racing and stuff, and that's where it takes it from.
Lots of shots at tailpipes, but we're not going to talk about that right now.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just like I said, that's about all. It has cars and it has the name, and that's about all that it has to do with the modern take on Fast and the Furious.
Yep.
And now Roger Corman also was responsible for bringing a lot of movies from like Russia and Japan as a producer. This one here is Japan Sinks, which is a horror movie that's based on a book. That's really this whole movie's really well done for its time period, and it's one that I recommend people watch. The American version, well, this Tidal Wave's another one.
Look, I still think that,
submersion of Japan.
The thing with Roger Corman is he really was the guy that could just pretty much do anything. And after a certain period, when you think about how the studios had their master of disaster.
Yeah, Irwin Allen.
I think Roger Corman was someone who really helped to usher in. He and Lloyd Kauffman both helped to usher in the kind of indie, low budget filmmaking that really made the 80s the 80s. Their stuff. Both of their catalogs are the backbone of what many people were entertained by in the 80s and into the 90s.
I'll say bye to Gaff After Dark real quick. He said he had to step out, so. And we lost D. Bud Martin a little bit ago as well. He had some stuff to do as well. So, yeah, another movie that he's famous for is Death Race 2000.
Which was also the debut, one of the early debut films for
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah.
Not counting his softcore porn debut.
We don't talk about that. That's a different show.
Yeah, that's a different show.
It's a way different show.
Actually, when we get to Lloyd Kauffman here in a minute, we'll definitely be bringing that up because Lloyd Kauffman directed pornos in his early career.
Oh, okay. We are gonna. I was gonna say touch upon that, but I don't even want to think about doing that. So phrasing.
Yeah. So yeah, this is. If you haven't seen it, this is an interesting post-apocalyptic. Sorry, not post-apocalyptic. Just dystopian movie.
Oh yeah. Well, look. That film. First time I saw it was at a drive-in, and I gotta say there was nothing like it.
Oh yeah.
David Carradine. You got to understand something about having David Carradine the lead in this film. This is all immediately post his role on the hit television series Kung Fu.
Yeah.
So to have him in this movie, to have him work for Roger Corman, I mean, some actors worked for him because they needed the money. Other actors did it because they needed someone to cast them in something that was different than what they're known for. Because had it been left up to the mainstream studio system or television networks, they'd continue to play characters that were pretty much derivative of what made them famous, And I think David Carradine would have been completely trapped in playing in all these loose kung fu type of roles.
Oh yeah.
And so playing Frankenstein in really Death Race 2000 really helped to shake everything up. And again, I just got to say that movie was really effective. You know, I mean, it really did shake a lot of people out of this whole thing of seeing him as Kwai Chang Caine from Kung Fu, and allowed them to see him as this actor that could do a multitude of different things. And plus, I like the movie because it inspired the game Car Wars.
Yeah, it did.
From Steve Jackson Games.
Yes.
And also because it gave a point system for how to do it. I mean,
yeah.
That's what I love about this movie. It actually had a point system.
Some other people that were in this movie is Martin Kove, who is in Karate Kid and Cobra Kai.
And Rambo 2.
Yep.
Fred Grandy, who was Gopher on
Love Boat.
Love Boat. So yeah,
this is just before he did Love Boat, I think.
Yep. So yeah, so I mean, it wasn't, you know, a lot of people, you know, get the early start or breakout roles from Roger Corman.
Well, and you know, Fred Grandy eventually became a member of Congress.
Yep.
He got elected to Congress after making this movie.
yeah. And he played Herman the German, no less.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Hello, Jacob the Critic. Welcome.
Of course, to be fair, to balance everything out, Sonny Bono, who actually was in the movie Airplane, the comedy, he himself got elected to Congress. So, you know.
He was in Congress right up until he had a tragic accident with a tree.
Oh, wow. Well, people just... it's not funny. I mean, it's tragic. No. So, and it's just... Yeah. Moving on.
Yeah, another movie that Roger Corman produced was Rock and Roll High School.
Yes.
Who, starred the Ramones.
Yep.
And
Rock and Roll High School.
You know, it had an amazing soundtrack, obviously.
I think you can still find that in certain places. And if you can't, just certain places on YouTube, you wink, can find it and listen to it and have fun with it.
Yeah, but it was definitely the teen angst movie of its time.
Oh, heck yes. I mean, look, the movie was weird even when it came out, but that's fine because that's what Lloyd Kauffman and Roger Corman would do. So,
Vince Lombardi High School.
Wow. Wait a minute. Wait. That lead actress, she's from... she was in Stripes.
Yes, she was.
Yeah.
PJ Souls.
Mm-hmm. PJ Souls. Hubba.
Clint Howard was in this.
Oh, of course.
Dick Miller.
The great Dick Miller.
Vincent Van Patten.
Oh, yes.
Some of you don't know who he is. He's
son
of
Dick Van Patten.
Yeah, Dick Van Patten. I don't know I couldn't remember his first name. But yeah, so yeah, Rock and Roll High School is if you haven't seen it, it's another one that I recommend you watch. And as I said, Roger Corman brought
that guy in the trailer. Is it the guy from Babylon 5?
No.
Well, I will have to add this to my to-do list.
Yeah, add that to your list. He also brought over some anime. Galaxy Express 999 was a Roger Corman production that he brought over here, which is a classic anime about a space train.
Mm-hmm.
See if they got any shots from the movie. That's definitely early 80s. Another thing he's responsible for is bringing over Shogun Assassin, which is the first movie in the Lone Wolf and Cub series, which is a famous series of movies from Japan that have a huge cult following.
Wow.
And he's also responsible for Fire and Ice.
Mm-hmm.
And
which was a film that was you had Frank Frazetta who participated in that film along with Ralph Bakshi.
Yes. I was hoping we get to some of the animations. There we go. You can definitely tell from the animation style that it's Ralph Bakshi.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely Sword and Sorcery, Conan, more adult bend, obviously.
Oh yeah, this is definitely not a film that you can watch with the kids.
No, definitely not. He's also responsible for the Deathstalker movies,
mm-hmm.
which again was part of that Sword and Sorcery uptick of movies that they had in the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And then let's talk about this one. The movie that most of you probably haven't seen because it never actually got released.
I have it.
And that's Roger Corman's Fantastic Four.
Yes.
The movie that was made only so New Horizons could try and keep the licensing for Fantastic Four.
That's it.
But it's not. It's actually better than Fan Four Stick.
Oh, heck yes.
Yeah.
Because the people that made this movie, the producers, directors, everybody was on the same page. Whereas that film is an example, again, of having different people on different pages, different people wanting different things for the movie. And when you don't have a unified working relationship between everyone working on the film, what you get is chaos. And chaos does not produce good movies. Never has, never will.
No. Perhaps the special effects are ridiculous. But the most important thing about this is the comic accurate Doom. As far as I'm concerned. It's the only time he's ever been comic accurate. So anyway, and we already discussed the Roger Corman film school and some of the people he is. So let's spend the last part of our thing talk about Mr. Lloyd Kauffman.
Cool.
Now, I call him King of the Z movies because let's face it, the quality of stuff he makes isn't quite up to Roger Corman standards as a general rule.
Well, of course, and I think his budgets were always a lot lower than Corman's.
Yeah. But, I mean, he did have some, see these down here, these are the ones that don't have pictures are adult films that he was directing and producing. So, yeah, he definitely ran the gambit. But what he's most known for is the Troma films.
Okay.
Toxic Avenger, all the various Toxic movies. Also, Class of Nukem High.
You got Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
All of the Toxic Avenger related films. Poultrygeist. And that was back in 2006.
Yeah.
Whew, man.
Yeah, that one was. Yeah, I was hoping we wouldn't mention that one. That's a bad movie. For a guy that loves bad movies, that's a bad movie.
Sergeant Kabuki Man.
Yeah, Sergeant Kabuki Man.
Let's see. Return to Nukem High.
Yep.
A film called Waitress. Wow.
Silent Night, Deadly Night. There's
Oh.
Sergeant Kabuki Man. Silent Night, Bloody Night. Sorry, not Deadly Night. 1972 Christmas horror movie. Yeah, he also did a lot of the sexploitation films from the late 70s, early 80s as well. So I mean, he had an impact on that, and most especially, he also directed a video game.
Which one?
He directed the Terminator Salvation video game.
Oh.
So he has really done a gambit of things. But the movie we're talking about, that Romeo and Juliet, back here, that was the movie that James Gunn got his start as a writer, writing the screenplay. I think is he in it? No, he's not in it. But basically, he went from that to after Romeo and Juliet, he did the specials. He wrote two Scooby-Doo movies that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And he wrote the remake for Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. Then he did his first directorial debut was Slither, which is a B movie in its own right.
Well, that pretty much set the stage for a lot of the stuff that he would do later on for other films. The cast of pretty much, is it's all James Gunn, and that film, wow. I still think for James Gunn, that was a powerful 1-2 punch in having James Gunn write the script for Dawn of the Dead and then for Zack Snyder to direct. I personally think both of them should team up again. And there is no reason why they can't do that at Warner Brothers.
Nope.
Absolutely no reason why they can't do something like that again with James Gunn writing the script and Zack Snyder directing. So
yeah, and then into that Rainn Wilson superhero movie, Super,
which really was it wasn't just Rainn Wilson, he was just the lead, but the cast of that movie, and ironically, guess who one of the producers was? Robert Meyer Burnett.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Nice.
And the guy who is co-running DC Studios with James Gunn, also
Safran.
That's right. Peter Safran is also producing, co-producing that particular movie, Super, also. So that's how long both Peter Safran and RMB have known James Gunn.
And of course, that brings us to the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
Yeah, well, skipping the Scooby-Doo films, but yes.
Well, yeah, the Scooby-Doo films he wrote, though. I'm talking about as a director.
Yeah.
And of course, that led to him getting fired. Some of his outrageous tweets that he made when he was in the Tromaverse led him to getting fired by the Disney higher-ups, which let him go make the Suicide Squad movie for DC, which got him in the door at DC and is a reason why he's in charge at DC now. So that brings us to the end of our show.
Mm-hmm. Look, as I said earlier, I think as it stands right now, Hollywood owes a major debt to Lloyd Kauffman and Roger Corman because Hollywood currently is being kept afloat by a lot of very talented people who got their start working for both of these gentlemen.
Yes.
And while, again, I will admit, not a lot of the stuff that they've made is something that everybody can watch, but understand that while a lot of the humor might be a little off color or kind of not something that certain people nowadays might find funny, it helped to give us someone like James Gunn.
Yes.
You know, and his sensibilities and way of working. So, you know, same thing for Roger Corman and all of the talented people that he has helped get their start. It really is about supporting, you know, actively supporting talent, and in almost any way that you can. One last thing about both these gentlemen. Both of them have books.
Yes.
You know, they both either have biographies or books that they've written. And if you really want to learn more from their perspective, you really, really, really need to go out and find that. You know, find those books. So I think for Lloyd Kauffman, he has his Make Your Own Damn Movie.
Yeah. And he's also got the book written by James Gunn about you know, his time at Tromaville and Lloyd Kauffman.
Yes. All I need to know about filmmaking.
A guy I learned from the Toxic Avenger.
But also he's got a sequel to Make Your Own Damn Movie called Sell Your Own Damn Movie. So it's all about financing and post-production work on your own films. It's all about excuse me. It's all part of that trilogy of books that he has. You know, Make Your Own Damn Movie, Direct Your Own Damn Movie, and Sell Your Own Damn Movie. So, and Produce Your Own Damn Movie. So he's going for the trifecta.
Yeah, so that covers the whole gambit. If you're a beginning filmmaker, that's probably a good place to start.
Oh yeah. It's again, Lloyd Kauffman really is someone who I think is interested in helping give people their big break and helping them find their way, you know, realize their dream really of becoming filmmakers. So, and then Roger Corman has let's see, How I Made 100 Movies in Hollywood and Never Lost a Dime. Yeah. Roger Corman. So you should go out and get that one too. It will give you it'll give you insights. So yeah.
So well, like I said, that brings us to our show. So I'd like to thank our viewers today. We had Lord Thaw, Colonizer Jeebus, Gap After Dark, D-Bud Martin, Penny, Anima Confusa, Kingsport Cal, Scott Lewis, That 70s Rock Fan, Zax, Peter Minkman Fan Site, Darius Munchausen, Dragon Ruse, and Dragon Bricks to give us a House of Dragons, Alex Moore, War Monkey, Slasher Fred, Sean Eastep, and Jacob the Critic.
Oh, so, a lot of cool people.
Yeah, a lot of cool people checking us out today. I appreciate you all being here, and check out TGIF in 2 hours. I believe they're going to be discussing the Swamp Thing in brain fart in Keanu Reeves Constantine 2, among other things. And then I'm not sure what they're doing for Saturday, but Saturday is Saturday Morning Fun Time at noon, which I won't be there for that. I have a family obligation. So I will see you all later. And with that,
Give me a second. Give me a second.
Martine.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Pop Culture Minefield. If you've enjoyed the show, please make sure to like, subscribe, and don't forget to click the bell icon for updates on our shows and channel. Also, please leave a comment, and we'd like to know what you thought of the episode, as well as letting us know if there's something you'd like us to cover in a future episode. Don't forget that you can become a member of Pop Culture Minefield now. Make sure to visit our membership page and merch store at popcultureminefield.com. You can always find Pop Culture Minefield on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch.